Well, it's been nearly a year and a half since Democratic Representative Nancy Pelosi held a leadership position in the House, yet she continues to be one of the most powerful lawmakers and puppet masters in Congress because she actually played a key role in the push to get Biden to drop out of the 2024 race. While she never publicly called on him to quit, she told the president she did not think he could win, and she cited polls, per CNN. Now, when it looked like Biden was not listening to that, she outmaneuvered him, going on Morning Joe. Let's listen.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short. I think overwhelming support of the caucus. It's not for me to say. I'm not the head of the caucus anymore, but he's beloved. He is respected, and people want him to make that decision, not me.
He has said he has made the decision. He has said firmly this week he is going to run. Do you want him to run?
I want him to do whatever he decides to do, and that's the way it is. Whatever he decides, we go with.
She kept saying he should make a decision. He can make a decision that he had already made. I think she was trying to get a different answer, and she finally did get one. She obviously reopened the door to gain support for Biden to drop out, with having several House Democrats call on him to step aside after that appearance, including Representatives Jim Himes, Scott Peters, and Eric Sorensen. Pelosi was deeply concerned that Biden would take down the House and Senate if he stayed in the race. Simply, she was not going to let him tear down the House that she built. She also privately maneuvered to get her close allies to back Biden to drop out. And when Adam Schiff came out last Wednesday asking the president to step aside, it had her fingerprints all over it.
Now, a Democratic insider told Politico, quote, Nancy made clear that they could do this the easy way or the hard way. She gave them 3 weeks of the easy way, and it was about to be the hard way. Now, reacting to Biden's decision to drop out, the New Yorker's Susan Glasser tweeted, quote, can't help thinking Nancy Pelosi just did with Biden what Mitch McConnell never had the guts to do to Trump. Vox's Dylan Matthews said, quote, Nancy Pelosi is the most important Democratic politician of my lifetime, and it's not close. Maybe we're in different lifetimes. I don't know, Robbie. Pelosi has now thrown her full support behind VP Kamala Harris, tweeting, quote, with immense pride and limitless optimism for our country's future, I endorse Vice President Kamala Harris for President of the United States. I have full confidence that she will lead us to victory in November. So Nancy Pelosi pulling the strings there, talking like a mob boss. We could do this the easy way or the hard way. It would be a bad look unless she had the popular support for this, which she does.
Yeah, so she did mastermind, was heavily involved in the effort to oust Biden, as was, from reporting I've read, former President Barack Obama. They both decided that Biden could no longer win the presidency. He could no longer vigorously campaign. There was no hope because he was not going to have some miraculous turnaround in terms of his cognitive ability, his ability to speak, to perform on the debate stage, to do what needed to be done to redirect the race. He was losing, and he was not going to be able to fix it. So they decided he had to go. He strongly disagreed, but it was not inclined to leave. It's funny, everyone like hailing him as a patriot, all his supporters saying, such a hero, he did the right thing, he put country first. He belatedly, finally was persuaded that they're going to humiliate him unless he gets out. So getting out is less humiliating, even though it is pretty humiliating. I think that's why he's not been seen in days. It's not just because he's sick, it's because he's embarrassed they humiliated him. But anyway, she has succeeded in getting him out and getting Kamala Harris substituted. You know, I would describe this as a kind of puppet master type role. I don't know that this is a good thing that she has so much power that she was able to swap the candidate who actually won all the delegates and was selected in a quasi-democratic process for a candidate who is just the choice of the party elites, the next in line, and has not been decided on via democratic forces in this election that democracy itself is at stake. But here we are, nevertheless.
Everything's legal. Everything's within the bounds of our democratic system,
Definitely,
Robbie.
It's not. I didn't say it was illegal. It's legal. But it's small, it's undemocratic, small d.
Yeah. I think
they didn't vote.
it's
They didn't vote for her.
popular.
Nobody voted for her.
But it's popular.
What do you mean it's popular?
Like the decision to have Joe Biden step aside is popular.
Yes, based on polling, yes. But
And
we don't
the
just
majority
decide,
of Democrats support
Okay,
her.
should we just, like, the majority, the polls right now have Trump winning the election. So should we just call the election right now for Trump because the polls have him up? No, we have to have people vote. And people, sometimes polls say one thing and the way people vote is a different way. I'm just saying she was not actually selected during the primary voting process. I don't really care. I just
But
think
during
that
the
could end up
primary-
hampering her is that lots of people didn't get into the ballot box and say, yes, Kamala Harris, that's who I want to be my nominee. It didn't happen.
But she's the VP pick. We
Yeah, but they
knew
don't
this
vote for a
going into
VP
the primary.
but they don't vote for a VP they just vote for Biden, and then she was his VP choice.
I think
So
that's very silly.
they-
I think that
I don't think it's silly at all. Go
so.
ahead.
Should they have voted for JD Vance to be the VP pick?
Well, I don't.
In the Republican
You're right. They
Party?
didn't vote for JD Vance either. And if the
And
if
so
Republican
if Trump stepped
elites,
aside, they would hold another primary election.
if Republican elites somehow got rid of Donald Trump and said we want JD Vance instead, yes, I would call it very undemocratic, even if it was perfectly legal and within the process. And also, his people would never stand for it. In the Republican Party, the people. There is genuine enthusiasm and support for Donald Trump, and having him swapped out for someone else would be some elite Mitch McConnell, highest level Nikki Haley fever dream that could never happen. On the Democratic side, well, it happened. And yeah, the people are going along with it because you're right, there was not a lot of affection for or desire to keep Biden as the candidate. I accept that. It's just, it was not a great process to get him to be the nominee, and it was not a great process to get him to not be the nominee.
Do you think
Both things
that's
are true.
because Trump has a cult of personality, or is it true because Republicans love democracy so much they always want a popular election for all of their leaders?
No, Republicans they love Trump. The Republican base
that's, I would say,
loves
what it is.
Trump.
That's
You
why
can say
they
it's a
wouldn't
cult of
stand a
personality.
JD Vance
Right, they love Trump.
presidency.
It's
not a love for democracy, it's a cult
I
mentality,
didn't say it
and
was
he's the leader.
Well, I didn't say it was love for democracy. It's a love for Trump. If you poll,
But if democracy is the issue that they're pointing out, Robbie,
but it's the Democrats who are saying
they're like,
it's
why
the
don't
issue
you
of
guys have
democracy.
a cult love for your guy like we do?
Well, why don't you just have? They don't like
'cause
their
we
candidate.
care about
That's not my
policies.
problem. That's not my fault. That's not my problem. The Democrats don't like their candidate, and Republicans do.
So you're arguing on behalf of these people who believe this?
No, I'm pointing out that the process. I'm saying that if Kamala Harris loses in November,
Yes.
part of the reason I think will be that this was a hasty decision to have her be the nominee without. Again, we didn't have to coronate her already. We could have had an open convention. Again, I'm saying we, but I'm not part of the Democratic Party. The royal we. I could have observed a process where you actually have delegates haggling and deciding who they want, and having other people stand up and say, no, it should be me, Mark Kelly. No, it should be me, Gavin Newsom. No, it should be me, Secretary Mayor Pete Buttigieg. We're not doing that. We're just saying, no, Kamala Harris, swapped in. This is who swapped out. Soon I will have a new apprentice, far younger and stronger than the last one. That's what happened here.
Yeah.
You didn't even react to my
Do you
Star
think
Wars reference.
Bill Weld is upset that there wasn't a full-fledged primary in 2020 when Donald Trump was the presumptive nominee and they didn't have a full-fledged primary?
I am not taking the position that the vice president needs to be selected by a democratic process. The vice president is selected by the person at the top of the ticket.
But Bill Weld wanted to run against Donald Trump.
Bill Weld
in a
was
primary,
the
but
libertarian
Trump was an
vice
incumbent.
president. What?
Trump was the incumbent, and he was the
Yeah.
presumptive nominee without a real
I'm not
primary
saying that
process.
the Republicans did what year was that? Yeah, I'm not saying the Republicans had a healthy democratic process in 2020 to arrive at their candidate. And guess what? They lost. They lost. Maybe because they didn't do it the old-fashioned way where you actually have people decide on the candidate. They did it this time where they had a real process. Nikki Haley got involved, Ron DeSantis, some other fine folks, and we got Donald Trump, and he's headed toward victory in November. I don't know what's going to happen, but
Now this is a cohesive ideology from you, Robbie, on what should have happened
it's not
and
ideological.
why.
I'm just pointing out. So many people. That Michael Schellenberger has made this point. I saw Michael Tracy making this point the other day. I interviewed him at great length on Rising about 2 weeks ago. People can go back and check that out. That it's just like, again, this was done at the behest of the elites and the most wealthy donors. It was not done over the objections of the base because they were not clamoring for Joe Biden anymore. But that doesn't change the fact that this swap happened because of elite pressure and donor pressure.
Yeah. I think we can all take a lesson from France and realize that in moments of political turmoil, you can put an election together pretty fast, actually. And it's interesting because you point out these people who believe that, you know, it's respectable that Biden stepped aside and he's a great patriot, an American hero, and how good of him to do this. I disagree that it's respectable, but I do agree it's the best thing he's ever done in his political career. So on the one hand, I'll give him that, but he should have stepped aside sooner, to your point, so we could have actually had a real primary process, and the people that were pressuring to step aside, it followed the debates when the public reacted to him. They knew he was like that behind closed doors. They should have pushed him to do a public appearance, show him to the public, show everyone what he's like. Now you have public support. Now you can push him out. Now you can have a real primary. There's a reason they didn't do that, because they were afraid it would be a candidate that's even more progressive than Kamala Harris.
He should have never run for re-election in the first place, and the complicity of his high-level staffers in hiding the reality of his decline. We don't know at what point it set in and got this bad.
Yeah.
But they tried to hide, not from the American people, obviously, which is bad for, we need someone competent, cognitively fit to be the president of the United States, but they hid it from their party, and this is the result.
It's kind of like how BlackRock passively has a majority of votes in some cases on the boards of these companies based on how many shares they hold, which are not technically theirs, because technically people give money to BlackRock and BlackRock invests it for them. But executives at BlackRock do have a say. They do have the shares. They do have influence over these companies, but they're not the owners of the companies. And isn't that American politics as well? Nancy Pelosi is not the president of the United States, but she technically has the support of the party and technically can tell the president what to do. It's all a big puppet show.
Emergency powers for the Supreme Chancellor. That's what I'm hearing. More Rising right after this.